Hello, my dear learners. So, in Java, we'll talk about the constructors now, types of constructors. This is a class constructor demo. I'm going to create different constructors and see how they work. Basically, there are three types of constructors. One is a default constructor. As you all know, default constructor is nothing but like without any uh, parameter, without any argument. Constructor is nothing but a kind of method, name of the method should be the same as the class name. So then we'll call it as constructor, right? It will not have any return types, void or any other data types we cannot have because constructor will not return anything that you know, right? Construct. This is a constructor. It also shows like it is a kind of method, right? And we can give parameters here. If there is no parameter, that is a default constructor. We can say simply like this dot x, whatever the x value we can initialize, because that is not initialized here. We can initialize through constructors. From default constructor I'm initializing. If I say 10 and this dot y 20, so this is how we are initializing values of x and y. Now I'll try to use this constructor for creating object for this class. So how to do that? From another class, okay, let us say in this class, from this main method I am creating obj reference, and it is using new keyword, right? And this is the constructor, default constructor. So whenever this line gets executed, it creates an object and also it executes this constructor, default constructor. So it is having some lines inside it. It gets executed and the values will be stored inside it. So we are not passing any value, but we are calling this constructor. So it is executing and x value, y value will be stored there. And after this, if you write something like system.out.println obj.x, if you print it, it will print 10, right? If you say y, if you print it, it will print 20. Okay, x and y values will be printed for the particular instance obj. So same thing like this is default constructor. Same thing we'll do for argumented constructor. Suppose I don't want to initialize with always 10 and 20. I want to initialize with the values which I want for x and y. So what we'll do, we'll have int x and int y we can declare, or we can say it is in your own values, right? Arg1, it can be x and y also, no problem. Okay, argument 1 or argument 2. So I am using these two arguments to initialize x and y. So if I want to initialize x and y with our own values, you have to call this constructor instead of this constructor while creating object. So I'll copy entire thing again, I'll put it here. My object is obj1 and I am passing values here. So these two values I am passing means it is not a default constructor, it is a argumented constructor. Yes, we have argumented constructor with the two arguments. Argument 1 and argument 2, 120 will come here and then assigned to x and y. When it gets executed, x and y. This is not obj, it is obj1 x value and y value. If you want to print it, you can say. Now if you run it, it shows like this. Okay, suppose if you have only one argument also we can have, so multiple constructors we can write it, but if there is only one argument and y value you are not assigning, only one value, then what happens if I have one more constructor, let's say this is obj1 but this is obj2. Okay, so here I am passing only one argument because I am calling this constructor one argument constructor. So that value will store in x, but what is the value of y? It is a default value. Right? It is a default value. When you're running it, 1020, 100 0 and 100 and 200. So since y don't have any value, it is a default value 0. So these two are argumented constructors. We have another type of constructor, which is a copy constructor. So what is copy constructor? It copies the properties of one object to another object. So like we have created, we are creating a obj1 obj2, right? Same way I'm going to create another object which is obj3, but I want to copy the properties of object 2. Then I can pass that as a parameter. But it is showing error because there is no such constructor which but there are constructors with which takes integer value 1, integer value 2 and default also, but there is no constructor in this class which takes object as argument. We have to create it, right? So we'll go and create that copy constructor here. How to create copy constructor? It is same way. We have to give the same name as class name, but it is not integer, it is not string, it is not multiple integers, multiple strings, but it should be of reference type, which is same class name, and argument will say argument 1. Okay, this way I'm creating. We'll say this dot x equal to argument 1 dot x. So whatever that argument we are passing, okay, that object means obj2. So that obj2 dot x, whatever the value, will be storing into this current instance variable x value and current instance variable y value. So here current instance x and y values are stored with the object we are passing. So that values we are replacing with. So this is how we are creating copy constructor. Now there is no issue here, we can run it. So I am using system.out.println for object 3 also. So object 3, if I run it, so here it is 120, right? One more time 120 comes. This is obj and this is obj1 and this is obj2 and this is obj3, both are same, right? So if I say obj1, it copies the properties of obj1, which is 100 and 0 for obj3. See 100 and 0. If I say obj, the first one, it copies the properties like what are the values there, 10 and 20, right? So those will be there in this last obj3 object. See 10 and 20 here, here also 10 and 20. That is all about constructor types. There are three types of constructors: default constructor, argumented constructors, and copy constructor. If you have any questions, post your comments with your question. Please subscribe the channel. So this kind of topics we'll discuss continuously, and share this video to your friends. Thank you.